The massive ships appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. They were beautiful in a way that made human technology look like children's toys. The vessels shimmered with colors that didn't exist in nature, and they were so large that they blocked out stars. There were 12 of them, each one carrying representatives from the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Director Haiyan Wu stood at the window of the International Space Station, looking at the alien fleet. He was a tall man with graying hair and calm eyes that had seen many difficult situations. Once, he had been a fighter pilot for South Korea. Now, he was Earth's voice in matters beyond the planet. He didn't know if that made him lucky or cursed. The aliens had sent a message 3 days ago. It was polite and formal. They called themselves the Galactic Council, and they wanted to meet. They had been watching Earth for 3 years, they said. They were impressed by humanity's progress. They wanted to offer Earth a gift. Dr. G1 stood beside Haiyan Wu. She was younger, barely 30, but her mind was sharper than anyone he had ever met. She studied the stars and understood things about the universe that most people couldn't even imagine. Right now, her face showed worry. "Something feels wrong about this," she said quietly. Colonel Taeyong nodded from his position near the door. He was a soldier through and through, with scars on his hands and a mind built for strategy. When someone offers you a gift you didn't ask for, you should wonder what they really want. The meeting was scheduled for noon Earth time. The aliens had requested that all major governments send representatives, but they specifically asked for Haiyan Wu's team to lead the discussion. They had done their research on humanity. It seemed at exactly noon, the conference room filled with light. When it faded, 3 aliens stood before them. The lead alien was reptilian, with scales that changed color like oil on water. He was tall, perhaps 8 feet, and moved with the grace of a predator. His eyes were ancient and cold. "I am Ambassador Velther of the Solarian Empire," the alien said. His mouth didn't move, but his words appeared in everyone's mind, perfectly translated. "It is an honor to finally meet humanity face to face." Haiyan Wu bowed slightly, showing respect without submission. "We are honored by your visit, Ambassador. I am Director Haiyan Wu, and this is my team." Velther's eyes studied each human carefully. "You must have many questions. We will answer them all. But first, let me tell you why we are here." The alien gestured, and holographic images filled the room. They showed galaxies spinning, civilizations rising and falling, wars that consumed entire star systems. "The universe is vast and dangerous," Velther continued. "There are wonders beyond imagination, but also horrors. For young species like humanity, venturing into the galaxy alone would be suicide." More images appeared. These showed peaceful planets with gleaming cities, healthy populations, and technology that seemed like magic. For 1 million years, the Galactic Council has guided younger species. We protect them. We teach them. We help them grow beyond their primitive beginnings. Dr. G1's hand tightened on her datapad. Haiyan Wu noticed, but said nothing. "We have watched Earth with great interest," Velther said. The images changed to show human history. Wars, inventions, art, music, suffering, and triumph all flashed by. Humanity is remarkable. In just 10,000 years, you've gone from caves to spacecraft. This is faster than any species we have encountered. The alien's tone became more serious. "But this speed comes with danger. You have invented weapons that could destroy your own world. You fight among yourselves. You harm your planet. Without guidance, you will destroy yourselves before you reach the stars." Colonel Taeyong's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. "That is why we offer you this," Velther said. The hologram showed a document with thousands of pages. "Protectorate status within the Galactic Council. You will receive our technology, our knowledge, and our protection. Diseases will end. Hunger will end. War will end. You will have access to unlimited clean energy, faster than light travel, and the combined wisdom of 47 advanced civilizations. It sounded perfect. Too perfect. What do you ask in return? Haiyan Wu said carefully. Very little, Velther replied smoothly. You will accept council guidance on matters of governance, reproduction, and cultural development. This guidance will last for 500 years, which is brief by galactic standards. During this time, you will learn from us. You will mature as a species. Then, you may apply for full council membership. 500 years, Dr. G1 said. That's 20 human generations. A necessary period. Another alien spoke. This one looked like a collection of crystals held together by energy. Every protectorate species requires time to shed their primitive instincts and violent tendencies. What happens if we refuse? Colonel Tae Yang asked bluntly. The room temperature seemed to drop. Vilther's scales shifted to a darker color. Why would you refuse? Every species we have offered this to has accepted with gratitude. The alternative is to struggle alone in a hostile universe, to face dangers you cannot imagine, and likely to die out within a few centuries. But hypothetically, Haiyan Wu pressed, what if we chose that path? Velther was quiet for a long moment. The Council cannot force you to join. However, we also cannot allow potentially dangerous species to threaten galactic peace. If you refuse our protection, you will be monitored closely. Any attempt to develop certain technologies or expand beyond your solar system would be met with appropriate responses. Appropriate responses, Haiyan Wu repeated. Could you define that? Economic sanctions. Travel restrictions. If necessary, military intervention to prevent you from becoming a threat. Velther's mental voice was calm, as if discussing the weather. But such measures have never been needed. Every species accepts our offer once they understand the alternative. The meeting continued for 3 more hours. The aliens showed them wonders that made Earth's greatest achievements look pathetic. They answered questions with patience, though always returning to the same message. Join us or face the consequences of refusing. Finally, Haiyan Wu stood. This is a decision that affects all of humanity. We need time to discuss this with our governments and our people. Velther seemed amused. Of course. We are not unreasonable. You have 30 of your Earth days to decide. Use this time wisely. The aliens vanished in the same burst of light they had arrived in. The moment they were gone, Colonel Tae Yang locked the room down with military-grade security. They're threatening us, he said flatly. Dr. G1 was already working on her datapad, her fingers flying across the screen. Worse than that, they're scared of us. Did you see how Velther's scales changed color when we asked about refusing? That wasn't anger. It was fear. Haiyan Wu stared out at the alien fleet hanging in Earth's orbit. 30 days to decide humanity's future. It wasn't enough time, but it was all they had. Get me every expert we have on alien technology, game theory, and military strategy, he said quietly. Something about this offer doesn't add up. We need to know what they're not telling us before we give them an answer. The countdown had begun. Earth exploded into debate. Every television channel, every internet forum, every government chamber argued about the same question. Should humanity accept the Galactic Council's offer or refuse it? The arguments for accepting were powerful. Dr. Park, a medical researcher from Seoul, gave passionate speeches about ending cancer, aging, and genetic diseases. They're offering us paradise, she said on global broadcasts. No more suffering. No more death from illness. How can we refuse that? Millions agreed with her. The promise of unlimited clean energy meant solving climate change overnight. Faster than light travel meant exploring the universe. Advanced technology meant ending poverty and hunger. The Council's offer looked like humanity's salvation, but others weren't convinced. Prime Minister Su'a of the Pacific Coalition stood before the United Nations and spoke in a voice that carried the weight of history. 500 years, she said. My ancestors fought for independence from colonial powers. They died for freedom. Now we're being asked to surrender that freedom to aliens who claim they know what's best for us. The Prime Minister was a woman who had fought her way up from poverty. She understood what it meant to be controlled by others. Read the fine print, she warned. Council guidance on governance means they choose our leaders. Council guidance on reproduction means they decide who gets to have children and how many. Council guidance on cultural development means they erase everything that makes us human. Director Hyan Wu's team worked around the clock. They set up a secure facility deep underground, far from any possible alien surveillance. Dr. G1 led a group of Earth's brightest scientists in analyzing every piece of data the Council had provided. What they found was disturbing. Look at this, Dr. G1 said, pointing to her screen. It was the middle of the night, but nobody was sleeping. The Council mentioned that 300 species have accepted protectorate status over their million-year history. I cross-referenced that with the list of full Council members they provided. Hyan Wu leaned closer. And not a single protectorate species has ever graduated to full membership. Not one in a million years. Her voice was tight with controlled anger. They're still all protectorates. The Council calls it a temporary arrangement, but it's permanent. Once you accept, you never get out. Colonel Tae-yang added his own findings. I analyzed their military structure. Protectorate species provide auxiliary troops for Council conflicts. They're basically cannon fodder for the Council's wars. He pulled up casualty statistics that made everyone in the room go quiet. The survival rate for protectorate military forces is about 30%. They send these troops into the worst fighting, while Council species direct from safety. There's more, said scientist Daum. She was young, barely out of university, but she had a gift for finding patterns that others missed. I've been working on decrypting some background data in the Council's transmissions. They didn't expect us to be able to read it, but human quantum computers are apparently more advanced than they thought. She pulled up charts that showed human technological progress compared to other species. This is what really scares them. Most species take 5,000 years to go from industrial revolution to space travel. We did it in 200. Most species take 10,000 years to develop nuclear weapons. We did it in less than a century. The projection showed future timelines. According to the Council's own models, if left alone, humanity will achieve faster-than-light travel within 50 years. We'll have technology matching the Council's within 2 centuries. Within 500 years, we could be more powerful than they are. The room went silent as everyone absorbed this. They're not offering to help us, Hyan Wu said slowly. They're trying to cage us before we become a threat. As the days passed, the debate on Earth grew more heated. Some nations threatened to accept the Council's offer independently if the United Nations refused. Others promised to fight any attempt at submission. In Seoul, massive protests filled the streets. Some people carried signs demanding acceptance of the Council's offer. Others carried signs that read, "Freedom or Death," in a dozen languages. Hyan Wu met with world leaders in marathon video conferences. President Yoon Ji of the Korean Republic spoke for many when she said, "My grandfather fought against occupation. My mother fought for democracy. I will not be the leader who surrenders our freedom to aliens, no matter how advanced they are." But Prime Minister Chun of the European Federation disagreed. This isn't about pride. It's about survival. If we refuse and they destroy us, freedom means nothing to the dead. The arguments went in circles until Hyan Wu called for a vote. It was close, painfully close, but the result was clear. Humanity would refuse the Council's offer. Now came the hard part. How to tell them. Haiyan Wu spent 3 days crafting the response with input from linguists, diplomats, and psychologists. They wrote long explanations about human values and the importance of self-determination. They drafted careful arguments about why humanity needed to find its own path. On the morning of the 30th day, Haiyan Wu read all of it and threw it away. Instead, he wrote 3 words. When he returned to the Council's flagship, Ambassador Velther was waiting with the same confident smile. The alien clearly expected humanity to accept. Every species did. Director Haiyan Wu, Velther said warmly. Welcome back. I trust you bring good news? We have made our decision, Haiyan Wu said calmly. He handed over a simple paper document. On it were written 3 words in every human language. No, thank you. The color drained from Velther's scales. The other council members present seemed to freeze. For a long moment, nobody moved. I don't understand, Velther finally said. You're refusing? Yes, but why? We offer you everything you could possibly want. You offer us survival as pets, Haiyan Wu said quietly. We prefer freedom as humans, even if it's dangerous. Another council member, a being that looked like living metal, spoke up. This is foolish. You don't understand the dangers of the galaxy. You'll be destroyed within decades. Maybe, Haiyan Wu agreed, but we'll be destroyed as free people who made our own choices. That matters to us. Velther's scales now showed patterns of red and black. The Council cannot allow this. A species that refuses our guidance is a potential threat to galactic stability. Then I suppose we have a problem, Haiyan Wu said. You would fight us? Velther seemed genuinely shocked. You have no faster-than-light travel, no energy shields. Your weapons are primitive chemical rockets and simple nuclear devices. We could destroy your entire fleet in minutes. Colonel Tae Yang, who had been silent until now, spoke up. You probably could, but we wouldn't make it easy, and we wouldn't forgive it. Velther turned to the other council members. They seemed to be communicating silently. Finally, he turned back to the humans. The council will discuss this situation, he said formally. We will return with our response in 7 days. I suggest you use that time to reconsider your foolish decision. Haiyan Wu bowed politely. We appreciate your patience, Ambassador. Our answer will remain the same. When the humans returned to Earth, they found the planet preparing for the worst. General Tae Hoon, Colonel Tae Yang's older brother, had been busy. Every military on Earth was mobilizing. Factories were retooling to produce weapons. Scientists were working on experimental technology that might, just might, give humanity a fighting chance. Dr. G1 pulled Haiyan Wu aside. We started this, she said quietly. By refusing them, we might have doomed our entire species. I know, Haiyan Wu replied. But what kind of species would we be if we surrendered without even trying to stand up for ourselves? He looked up at the stars, where the Council's ships waited in orbit like vultures. Besides, he added with a slight smile, humans have always been good at one thing. We survive. No matter what it takes, we find a way to survive. The 7 days began to count down. The council chamber was in chaos. It was a vast space that existed partly in normal reality and partly in other dimensions that human minds couldn't fully process. Representatives from 47 civilizations filled it, and for the first time in thousands of years, they were all shouting, "This is impossible," declared Ambassador Velther, his scales flashing angry red. In 1 million years, no species has refused our offer. Not one. High Counselor Nyx floated above the others. She was a being of pure energy, ancient beyond understanding, and she had guided the council for over 100,000 years. Her voice cut through the noise like a blade. Silence. The chamber went quiet instantly. "This changes everything," Nick said. "We must analyze this situation carefully before we act." A counselor from the crystalline Shar species spoke up. "What is there to analyze? They refused us. We make an example of them. One orbital strike on their largest city, and they'll beg to accept our offer." "No," said another counselor, this one from the aquatic Delphin people. "That would make us look weak. We offered them paradise, and they spat in our faces. We should embargo their entire solar system. Let them starve in isolation?" The arguments continued for hours. Some wanted immediate military action. Others suggested economic pressure. A few, very few, wondered if they should simply leave humanity alone. Velther pulled up holographic displays showing Earth's history. "Look at these creatures," he said, forcing calm into his mental voice. "They have fought wars continuously for their entire recorded history. Wars over land, resources, religion, ideology, and sometimes for no clear reason at all. The images showed humanity's conflicts. Ancient battles with swords and spears. Medieval sieges. World wars with tanks and aircraft. Nuclear weapons that could destroy cities in seconds. They weaponize everything," Velther continued. "Rocks, fire, chemicals, atoms. They've nearly destroyed themselves a dozen times, and each time they survived and became more dangerous. They've turned their own planet into a weapon testing ground. That's exactly why we must control them," another counselor argued. "Imagine if they reach the stars with that mindset. They'll bring chaos to the entire galaxy." High Counselor Nix studied the data in silence. Finally, she spoke. "How long until they develop faster-than-light travel on their own?" A technical specialist ran calculations. "Based on their current progress, 40 to 60 years. And if we give them access to our technology, even the basics, they could reverse engineer it within a decade. Maybe less. Their scientists are remarkably clever." Nix absorbed this. "And militarily? How dangerous are they right now?" Military Coordinator Thax, a veteran of 1,000 campaigns, answered. "Against any single council species? They would lose badly. Their weapons are crude, their ships are slow, and they have no defense against our energy weapons. Against our combined forces? They would be crushed in days. But?" Nix prompted. She could hear the hesitation in his mental voice. Vax pulled up more data. "But humans don't fight like we do. They don't have honor codes or rules of engagement. They use guerrilla tactics, suicide attacks, and weapons we would consider immoral. And they never, ever give up. In their history, smaller human forces have defeated larger ones through sheer determination and creative tactics countless times." The chamber fell silent as everyone absorbed this. "There's something else," Velther added quietly. "I've reviewed the psychological profiles we compiled. Humans have a concept they call spite. They will hurt themselves if it means hurting their enemy. They'll burn their own homes rather than let enemies take them. If we threaten them, they won't calculate costs and benefits like rational beings. They'll fight us because we threaten them, regardless of whether they can win. Madness, one counselor said. Effective madness. Another corrected. High Counselor Nix made her decision. We cannot allow them to develop freely. The risk is too great. But we also cannot simply destroy them. That would make us the monsters we claim to be protecting the galaxy from." She turned to Military Coordinator Thax. "Prepare a blockade fleet. Nothing too large. We don't want to look weak by sending our full military against a pre-FTL species. Just enough to contain them. How large?" Thax asked. 50 vessels. Older models from our reserve fleet. It should be more than sufficient. Velther looked uncertain. And if they fight back? Then we demonstrate why the Council has maintained peace for 1,000,000 years, Nix said firmly. We will give them one more chance to accept our offer. If they refuse again, we implement a full blockade. No ships in or out of their solar system. No communication with other species. We isolate them until they understand that cooperation is their only option. The Council voted. The decision was unanimous. 7 days after humanity's refusal, the Council's response came. Ambassador Velther appeared on every screen, every broadcast, every communication device on Earth simultaneously. People of Earth, his mental voice carried artificial warmth. The Galactic Council has considered your refusal with sadness and concern. We understand that you fear losing your identity, your freedom. These are natural concerns for a young species. Haiyan Wu watched the broadcast with his team. They had expected this. We offer you one final chance, Velther continued. Accept our protectorate status. We will be gentle in our guidance. You will maintain some autonomy. But you must accept our wisdom and our protection. The ambassador's tone became harder. If you refuse again, the Council will implement a containment protocol. A fleet will blockade your solar system. Any attempt to leave will be prevented. Any attempt to communicate with other species will be blocked. You will remain isolated until you see reason. The broadcast showed images of the Council's fleet. Massive warships that made Earth's best technology look like toys. Furthermore, Velther said, any attempt to develop faster-than-light technology, energy weapons, or certain other advanced systems will be met with immediate military action. The Council cannot allow a potentially hostile species to threaten galactic peace. You have 1 Earth week to provide your final answer. Choose wisely. The broadcast ended. General Taehoon was the first to speak. They're backing us into a corner. That's what they think, Colonel Taeyang said. But cornered animals are the most dangerous. Dr. G1 was working on her computer even as they spoke. I've been analyzing their fleet composition. They're sending old ships. Reserve models. They're not taking us seriously. Good, Haiyan Wu said quietly. Let them underestimate us. President Yunji joined the conference call. The people are scared. Some are demanding we accept the Council's offer. They think fighting is suicide. It probably is, Haiyan Wu admitted. But is life as a servant species really life at all? What's our plan? The president asked. Haiyan Wu looked at his team. They had been preparing for this. We reject their ultimatum. Then we prepare for war. With what? Someone asked. We barely have spacecraft capable of reaching Mars. They can cross galaxies. We have 2 advantages, Colonel Taeyang said. First, this is our home. We know this solar system better than they do. Second, they think they've already won. Overconfidence is a weakness we can exploit. Dr. G1 added, and we're already working on some surprises. Human creativity isn't just useful for making art. We're very good at making weapons, too. The week passed in frantic preparation. Factories worked day and night. Scientists pushed the boundaries of human technology. Military forces trained for battles they barely understood. On the final day, Haiyan Wu returned to the Council's flagship one last time. Velther waited, confident that the humans would finally see reason. Well, the ambassador asked. What is humanity's answer? Haiyan Wu looked the alien directly in his ancient eyes. You gave us 2 choices. Accept submission or face your blockade. We choose option 3. There is no option 3. We make our own options, Haiyan Wu said calmly. You want to blockade our system? You want to threaten us with military action if we advance our technology? Fine. Then we consider ourselves at war with the Galactic Council. Velther's scales went white with shock. You can't be serious. You would fight us? You have no chance of winning. Probably not, Haiyan Wu agreed. But we'll hurt you. We'll make you bleed. And every species watching will see that the mighty Galactic Council needed military force to crush one small planet that only wanted to be free. The human delegation left the ship. Behind them, the Council scrambled to respond to something they had never encountered before. A species that chose war over submission. The blockade fleet arrived 2 days later. Commander Vextal was young for a council officer, barely 1,000 years old. This was supposed to be an easy assignment. A simple show of force to bring the primitives to heel. He positioned his 50 ships beyond Mars and activated the blockade. No human ship would leave the inner solar system. No communication would reach beyond there. Monitoring range, it should have been simple. But humans had never been good at doing what they should. Commander Vextal felt confident as his fleet settled into blockade positions. Around the Sol system. His 50 ships were old by Council standards, yes, but they were still vastly superior to anything the humans possessed. Their energy shields could deflect anything in Earth's primitive arsenal. Their weapons could destroy cities from orbit. This would be over quickly. On the 3rd day of the blockade, the humans tested his defenses. A small probe launched from Earth's moon, trying to sneak past the blockade using the asteroid belt for cover. Vextal's sensors caught it easily and destroyed it with a precise energy beam. Pathetic, his second officer commented. They send robots to do their fighting. But the probes kept coming, one every few hours. Each one trying a different route, a different tactic. Vextal destroyed them all, growing more annoyed with each one. Didn't the humans understand they were beaten? On the 7th day, his sensors picked up something larger. A fleet of human vessels was leaving Earth's orbit, heading toward his position. Vextal counted them. 23 ships, most of them converted civilian vessels. Cargo haulers with weapons welded onto their hulls. Mining ships retrofitted with missile tubes. One actual warship, though calling it that was generous. They're attacking us? Vextal couldn't believe it. With that, his tactical officer laughed. They're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Prepare to engage, Vextal ordered. Disable their vessels, but avoid casualties if possible. The Council wants them alive to see reason. The human fleet approached at slow speeds. Their chemical rockets left visible trails. Their targeting systems were basic radar and optical sensors. It was almost sad. Vextal activated his energy shields and powered up weapons. This would take minutes at most, and the humans did something unexpected. They split up the fleet, divided into 4 groups, each heading in different directions. Some dove toward the asteroid belt. Others swung around Mars. 2 ships headed straight at the Council fleet, while the others scattered. Follow the main group, Vextal ordered. The 2 approaching us are probably a distraction. His ships moved to intercept, energy weapons powering up. The human vessels were primitive, but he had to admit they moved with purpose. Someone down there knew basic tactics. The first energy beams lanced out, striking the leading human ship. The vessel's crude armor melted under the heat, but then something strange happened. The ship kept coming. It didn't explode or retreat. It just kept moving forward, trailing fire and atmosphere. Hit them again, Vextal ordered, confused. More beams struck the ship. It broke apart finally, but before it did, it released a cluster of objects. Missiles, Vextal's sensors said. Nuclear missiles. He almost laughed. Nuclear weapons against energy shields? The humans really were desperate. The missiles detonated against his shields, exactly as expected. The explosions were bright, but harmless. Primitive fission reactions couldn't penetrate Council. Technology except the humans weren't trying to penetrate the shields. The electromagnetic pulse from the nuclear detonations washed over Vextal's ships, and suddenly his sensors went dark. What happened? He demanded. EMP interference, Commander. The radiation is blocking our scanners. It should clear in approximately 3 minutes. 3 minutes. In space combat, that was an eternity. The humans had positioned themselves perfectly. While Vextal's ships were blind, the other human vessels emerged from hiding spots in the asteroid belt. They weren't using energy weapons or missiles, no. They were using kinetic weapons. Simple railguns that threw chunks of metal at incredible speeds. One of Vextal's frigates took a direct hit. The metal slug punched through its shields, which weren't designed to stop physical projectiles, and tore through the ship's hull. The frigate didn't explode, but it tumbled out of formation, venting atmosphere. Return fire. Vextal shouted. Target those railgun platforms. But the humans were already moving, using the asteroids for cover. Vextal's ships fired blind, their sensors still disrupted. When visibility returned, 2 more Council ships had been damaged. The battle raged for 6 hours. The humans fought like demons, using tactics that no civilized species would consider. They hid behind planets and moons. They used nuclear weapons as flashbangs to blind sensors. One human ship, badly damaged and losing atmosphere, actually rammed a Council cruiser at full speed. When it was over, Vextal had lost 12 ships. The humans had lost all 23 of theirs. By any military calculation, Vextal had won. But as he looked at his damaged fleet and his dead crew members, victory felt hollow. Get me a communication channel to Council headquarters, he said quietly. I need reinforcements. On Earth, the mood was grim but determined. They had lost every ship in the engagement. Hundreds of crew members were dead. But they had also proven something important. The Council could be hurt. Captain Min Seok had been commanding the Soul's Vengeance, the ship that rammed the Council cruiser. He survived because his crew forced him into an escape pod. Now he stood before General Tae-hoon, reporting on the battle. They're strong, but they're predictable, Min Seok said. They rely on their shields and energy weapons. They don't expect physical attacks or unconventional tactics. Can we win? The general asked. No, Min Seok said honestly. Not in a straight fight. But we can make them pay for every inch of space. We can make this so costly that they decide we're not worth the trouble. While the military analyzed the battle, Dr. Ji-won's team was working on something that would change everything. They had recovered pieces of destroyed Council ships from the engagement. The wreckage contained technology far beyond Earth's capabilities. Look at this, Engineer Yunho said, holding up a strange device. It's their communication system. It uses something like quantum entanglement, but more advanced. Messages are instantaneous across any distance. Dr. Ji-won's eyes lit up. Can you reverse engineer it? Give me 3 days. It took 4, but Yunho delivered. The device he built was crude compared to Council technology, but it worked. Earth now had faster-than-light communication. What do we do with it? Someone asked. Director Hyan-woo had an idea. We tell everyone what's happening here. The Council wants to keep this quiet. They don't want other species to know they had to use military force against one small planet. Let's make sure everyone knows. They crafted a simple message. No propaganda, no lies. Just the facts. Earth had been offered protectorate status. Earth had refused. The Council had blockaded their system and destroyed ships for trying to leave. The message ended with an invitation. We are humanity. We believe in freedom. Any species that shares this belief is welcome to contact us. We're looking for friends, not masters. The message was broadcast on every frequency the makeshift device could produce. It went out in all directions, a signal that couldn't be stopped or blocked by the Council's jamming. The response was immediate and came from an unexpected source. 3 days later, a new ship entered the Sol system. It wasn't a Council vessel. The design was different, sleeker, but more aggressive. It transmitted a message directly to Earth. Greetings, humanity. I am Delegate Rack of the Sovereignty Pact. We received your transmission with great interest. The Sovereignty Pact was the Council's rival alliance. Haiyan Wu knew about them from the data the Council had provided. They were smaller than the Council, but fiercely independent. The Council called them pirates and rebels. They called themselves free. Your defiance of the Council is admirable, Rack's message continued. We would like to offer you an alliance. Technology and weapons in exchange for a mutual defense pact against Council aggression. It was tempting. With pact technology, Earth might actually have a chance. But Haiyan Wu remembered why they had refused the Council in the first place. We will not trade one master for another, he replied carefully. But we are interested in fair trade as equals. Rack laughed, a sound like grinding stones. Excellent answer. Very well. We propose a technology exchange. You share your innovations. We share ours. No strings attached except friendship. What innovations could we possibly have that interest you? Dr. G1 asked. Rack's response surprised them. Your computers use biological components in ways we never considered. Your quantum encryption methods are remarkably elegant. Your fusion reactor designs are more efficient than ours, despite being more primitive. You humans have very creative minds. The technology exchange began. Within weeks, Earth had working fusion reactors based on pact designs. Human scientists combined these with their own innovations, creating hybrid systems that impressed even the pact engineers. But the most important gift was the FTL communication technology. The pact showed Earth how to build proper versions of the device Yunho had created. Why are you helping us? Haiyan Wu asked Rack during one meeting. The alien warrior was honest. Because the Council needs opposition. They've grown too powerful, too arrogant. They believe they have the right to control all intelligent life in the galaxy. A species like yours, willing to fight for independence, could inspire others to do the same. You want us to be a symbol. I want you to survive, Rack corrected. The Council is sending a larger fleet. A real one this time. They're done playing games. The news sent chills through Earth's leadership. How large? 300 ships. Modern vessels, not reserve fleet cast-offs. Led by Fleet Admiral Torvuk, one of their best commanders. They won't make the same mistakes Commander Vextel made. 300 ships. Earth had maybe 40 functional combat vessels now, even with the new construction programs running at full capacity. We can't win that fight, General Taehoon said flatly. No, Haiyan Wu agreed. But we don't have to win. We just have to make them regret starting it. The pact offered to send observers. 50 of their own ships would be positioned nearby, not participating but watching. Their presence might make the Council think twice about using overwhelming force, or it might make them more determined to crush Earth quickly before the pact got more involved. Either way, the die was cast. The Council's fleet was coming, and humanity would face its greatest test. The countdown to war continued. The Council's war fleet arrived exactly when intelligence said it would. 300 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system, their weapons ready and their shields at full power. Fleet Admiral Torvuk was not like Commander Vexto. He was ancient, experienced, and absolutely ruthless. He had crushed rebellions on 17 worlds and never lost a battle. The Council had sent him to end this embarrassment quickly and permanently. His first act was to scan the system. He noted the human defensive positions with professional interest. 40 human warships arranged in 3 defensive lines around Earth. Clever positioning using the moon and orbital platforms for support. Primitive but competent. Then he noticed the other ships. 50 vessels flying the colors of the Sovereignty Pact, positioned at the system's edge. Observers, they claimed. Torvek knew better. They were a warning. Attack Earth too brutally, and the Pact would use it as justification to escalate their Cold War with the Council into a hot one. Clever humans, Torvak muttered. You found allies already? He opened a communication channel to Earth. I am Fleet Admiral Torvak of the Galactic Council. You have one final opportunity to surrender. Accept Protectorate status now, and this fleet will withdraw. Refuse, and we will demonstrate why the Council has maintained order for 1,000,000 years. Director Haiyan Wu responded from the bridge of humanity's flagship, the Freedom's Price. It was newly built with combined human and Pact technology. Not as powerful as Council ships, but deadly enough. Admiral Torvak, we appreciate the Council's patience. Our answer remains the same. We will not surrender our freedom. Then you choose death, Torvak said without emotion. So be it. The Council fleet advanced. Torvak kept his formation tight, shields overlapping. He wouldn't make Vexdal's mistakes. No more being surprised by primitive tactics. The human fleet held position, waiting. Torvak studied their deployment and noticed something odd. The ships weren't arranged for optimal firing angles. They were arranged for something else. But what? He found out when the battle began. The first wave of Council ships opened fire with energy weapons, expecting to overwhelm the human defenses quickly. But the human ships had new shields now. Courtesy of the Pact, the energy beams splashed against barriers of force. Diminished, but not defeated then the humans returned fire. And Torvak saw something he'd never seen before. The human weapons weren't just energy beams or missiles. They were both, used together in ways that made no tactical sense according to Council doctrine, but worked terrifyingly well. A human destroyer fired missiles at a Council cruiser. The cruiser's point defense systems destroyed most of them easily. But while the cruiser was focused on the missiles, the destroyer closed range and fired railguns. The physical projectiles punched through shields weakened by the missile impacts. The Council cruiser took damage. Not critical, but damage nonetheless. Multiply that by 40 human ships, and suddenly Torvak's fleet was bleeding. All ships adjust tactics, Torvak ordered. Focus fire. Destroy them one at a time. But the humans wouldn't cooperate. They moved in patterns that seemed random, but clearly weren't. They supported each other, covered each other's retreats, and used the orbital platforms around Earth as fixed defensive positions. Engineer Biora had designed those platforms personally. Each one was a fortress bristling with weapons. Railguns, missile batteries, and the crown jewel, experimental plasma cannons that the Pact engineers said wouldn't work. They worked. The battle raged for hours. Torvak's fleet had overwhelming firepower, but the humans fought with a desperation and creativity that his crews couldn't match. Every time he thought he had figured out their tactics, they changed them. One human frigate, the Bison's Defiance, took critical damage. Its reactor was failing, shields were down, and half the crew was dead. Standard protocol would be to retreat or surrender. Instead, the captain aimed his dying ship at the nearest Council battleship and pushed the engines to maximum. The frigate accelerated, trailing fire and debris, and rammed the battleship's shield generators. The impact destroyed both ships. Torvak watched in disbelief. They're insane. They just sacrificed a ship and its entire crew for one of ours. They're winning the exchange rate, his tactical officer pointed out. They know they can't outlast us in a long battle, so they're making every loss count for maximum damage. The observation was correct. Torvak was winning, but he was losing ships far faster than he should be. At this rate, he might win the battle, but lose a third of his fleet doing it. Unacceptable. Prepare the siege protocol, Torvak ordered. We'll bombard their orbital positions from maximum range. Force them to come to us, or watch their defenses be destroyed. It was sound strategy. But before he could implement it, new contacts appeared on his sensors. More human ships, coming from the asteroid belt and the outer planets. Not warships. These were civilian vessels, cargo haulers, mining ships. Even luxury yachts. All of them were loaded with nuclear weapons. They're using civilians as suicide bombers, Torvak's second officer said, horrified. No, Torvak corrected, checking the scans. The ships are automated. They're drones. Hundreds of them, all converging on his fleet from different angles. His ships could destroy them easily, but they'd have to divert fire from the main battle to do it. The humans had just forced him to split his attention. Captain Min Seok watched the battle from his new ship, the Soul's Vengeance 2. The first had been destroyed ramming a council ship. This one would probably meet the same fate, but that was fine, as long as he took enemies with him. All ships focus fire on their flagship, he ordered. We hurt their command structure. We hurt their coordination. 20 human ships concentrated their fire on Torvak's massive command vessel. The shields held, but the barrage forced the flagship to fall back, disrupting the Council's battle formation. The fight continued for 18 brutal hours. Space around Earth became a graveyard. Burning wreckage from both sides drifted in slow orbits. Escape pods dotted the battlefield like seeds scattered by the wind. Torvak's fleet had destroyed 36 human ships, but he had lost 97 of his own. 97 ships that could have been used elsewhere. 97 crews that would never return home. And the humans weren't breaking. Even with most of their fleet destroyed, the remaining ships fought with the same intensity as the first. Worse, the Pact observers were broadcasting the entire battle across the galaxy. Every species would see this. The mighty Council fleet, struggling to defeat one primitive planet. The political damage was already done, but Torvak could still achieve military victory. His fleet still outnumbered the humans. He could still win this. Then Captain Min Seok did something that would become legend. Soul's Vengeance 2 was dying. Shields gone, weapons mostly offline, reactor critical. Min Seok had maybe 5 minutes before the ship exploded. He could evacuate. He could retreat. He could surrender. Instead, he plotted a course directly toward Torvak's flagship. This is Captain Min Seok to all human forces, he broadcast. It has been an honor serving with you. For Earth, for freedom. He pushed the failing reactor past every safety limit. The ship accelerated, becoming a massive kinetic projectile wrapped around a fusion bomb. Torvak's crew saw it coming. They fired every weapon they had. Energy beams tore through the Vengeance 2, ripping it apart piece by piece, but the pieces kept coming. And the reactor, already critical, detonated early. The explosion was visible from Earth. A new sun bloomed in the darkness. And when it faded, Torvak's flagship was a broken wreck. The Admiral survived. Barely, pulled from the wreckage by a rescue ship. But his command was shattered. His fleet, demoralized by the loss of their flagship and shocked by the humans' absolute refusal to accept defeat, began to pull back. Torvak made the hardest decision of his long career. He ordered a retreat. The Council fleet withdrew to the outer system, regrouping and trying to process what had just happened. They had won tactically. The human fleet was almost entirely destroyed. But somehow, it felt like a defeat. On Earth, the survivors celebrated, even as they mourned their dead. They had lost 36 ships and thousands of lives. But they had survived. They had fought the Council to a standstill. High Counselor Nix watched the recordings of the battle with growing concern. The political fallout was already beginning. 3 protectorate species had sent inquiries about independence. The Pact was using the battle footage in propaganda broadcasts across the galaxy. She called an emergency council session. "We face a choice," she told the assembled representatives. "We can continue this war. We will eventually win through sheer numbers. But the cost will be enormous, and every day we fight, more species question our authority. What's the alternative?" Someone asked. "We negotiate," Nix said. The word tasted like poison, but it was the truth. Ambassador Velther was shocked. "Negotiate? With primitives who attacked us?" "We attacked them," Nix corrected. "They refused our offer and chose independence. We responded with military force. Now we must deal with the consequences." The council spent 3 days debating. Finally, they reached a decision. Director Haiyan Wu, now promoted to Secretary General of Earth's United Government, received the council's message. They offered a compromise. Humanity could remain independent if they agreed to non-aggression pacts and limited technology-sharing. Haiyan-Wu read the offer and drafted his response. Earth would accept non-aggression, but on one condition. The Council must recognize Earth's sovereignty as equals, not as a junior species being granted a privilege. Furthermore, any protectorate species that petitioned for independence would receive Earth's diplomatic support. The Council was silent for a week. Then, reluctantly, they accepted. The war was over. Humanity had won its freedom. 5 years later, Director Haiyan Wu stood at a window overlooking Earth's first orbital shipyard. The scars of war had healed. New ships were being built, better designs that combined human innovation with alien technology. Dr. G1 joined him. She looked tired but happy. "The colony ship is ready. 5,000 people heading to New Sol in the Alpha Centauri system. Are you ready?" Haiyan Wu asked. "Terrified," she admitted. "But yes. Someone has to be first." He smiled. "You'll do fine. Just remember what got us here. Never surrender. Never stop being human," he corrected. "We won because we stayed true to ourselves. Because we valued freedom more than safety. Don't lose that out there among the stars." Dr. G1 nodded. She looked up at the sky where alien ships now traveled freely, where the galaxy had opened up to humanity not as servants but as equals. "The Council's empire is cracking," she said. 12 species have petitioned for independence already. The Pact says more are coming. "Good," Haiyan Wu replied. The galaxy needed someone to prove that the Council could be challenged. "I'm glad it was us." The colony ship launched the next day, carrying 5,000 humans toward a new world. It was the first of many. Earth was reaching for the stars, and this time, no one would stop them. In the council chambers, High Counselor Nix watched the same colony ship depart. She had ruled for 100,000 years, maintaining the order her predecessors had built over 1,000,000 years. Now, one small planet had cracked that order in less than a decade. What have we created? She wondered aloud. Her aide understood the question. A rival. Or perhaps an ally. Time will tell. Time, Nix repeated. Yes, humans are impatient, creative, stubborn, and apparently unkillable. They will change the galaxy, for better or worse. Nix didn't answer. She didn't know. But she suspected the galaxy was about to become a much more interesting and much more dangerous place. Humanity had arrived among the stars, and they had brought their most dangerous idea with them: freedom.